Now, at this point, the musical is basically done. Evan learns what he had to learn for this particular musical, and this portion of his life is complete. So, plot-wise, this song doesn't really do much. One thing that it does do is that, in a very similar style to Spelling Bee, it allows us to see what each of these characters went through when they turned 13. It mostly focuses on the main characters, though there are a few of the minor characters letting us know what happened to them as well. And it ranges from Patrice, who says that she kissed a boy more than once, again, that indication that Patrice and Evan did end up together, to Brett, who failed math, but won the championship, showing that Brett went through literally no growth, but then again, we weren't really expecting him to either. Also, Archie had spinal cord surgery, and apparently it sucked. I love Archie. But this plot furtherance, well, not really furtherance, but basically plot ending kind of thing, isn't really why I like this song. I mean, they're nice little snippets into these characters' lives, but it's not why I enjoy listening to this song. I enjoy listening to this song because of the message that it embodies, which is basically the message that the entire musical is trying to embody. And this message is that everybody has growth to go through. The song starts out with Evan admitting that he's not perfect, that he still has growth to go through, and that if you want him to lead, if you want him to be a friend, you should know that his life's not done yet, that he's still going through life, and it doesn't matter what happens, you should stick through with it until the end. And it's really nice to just hear Evan admit that he's not done growing yet, and we do see that in the previous song that I talked about last week, but we see that more here, because he is fully admitting that he's not done growing yet. One of the things that I really love about this piece is that he also says to everybody watching, or everybody listening in this case, that everybody has growth to go through. That it doesn't matter if you're 13, or if you're in your 20s, or if you're 80, or if you're 90, you still have growth that you can go through, and you still have things that you can learn. I love this because it just adds realism to this whole situation. If this were, again, a teenage sitcom, the character would have gone through growth, he would have been perfected, and everything would be fine, and everybody would be like, yay, we're done growing, everything's perfect. But again, that's not really how life works. And again, like I said last week, it's just refreshing to see this realism attached to this song, letting us all know that we're not done growing, either one of us. And using the metaphor of school is just a really clever way of doing it. First of all, it's a bunch of 13-year-olds talking about life, so of course they're going to connect it to school in some way, because that's basically what's taking up their life. But it's also something that's universally known. This idea of going to high school is an idea that most people know about. And obviously not just high school, it's also middle school, and in some ways elementary school, but just the idea of going to school is something that is pretty much universal. And yes, I am fully aware that not everybody can afford to go to school, especially in countries other than the US, but it's still an idea that a lot of people know about. And so we have this whole idea of having a little more homework, having a little more growth, and also later in the song when it talks about looking in the back of the book for the answers. And that's also just a really nice way of showing that some people try to cheat when it comes to life. They come up with these problems and they try to see an easy solution out of them and kind of weasel their way out of situations without acknowledging the situation head on. This is something that probably everybody has done at least once in their lives, and it's just, again, very universal. The song is just brilliant for that very reason. It doesn't really try to sugarcoat the fact that life isn't perfect. The closest it comes to sugarcoating it is that it akins it to school. But that's about it. This song confronts you head on and lets you know you're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody's still going through growth. Everybody still has things they can learn. And you just have to acknowledge that. And it does it very, very well. And I think it is a perfect end to this musical. So that's all for this week's song. Next week I'm going to go ahead and briefly talk about Brand New You, because it's not really part of the musical itself, it's the bows at the end, so it doesn't further the musical at all, but I still want to talk about it somewhat. And I'm also going to give my general opinion of the musical, though you've probably figured that out because I think I probably mentioned sometime in this whole discussion of the musical that I love this musical, but I'll still give a brief explanation to my opinion in case it hasn't been made painfully obvious. So, tune in next week for that. See you then.
Little more homework.
Turns today, turns today, turns today, turns today, turns today.
My name is Evan Goldman. I live at 24 Plains Drive, Appleton, Indiana. I'm 13 years old, and I'm just getting started.